We got this guy in our group. His name's Jackson. This guy's a beast of a man. Beastly. One of the best storytellers that I've ever heard. Also very generous. And I witnessed his generosity at the recent meetup we had, and also his storytelling prowess. And he saw this lady chilling out there in the cold. She had a little baby. He didn't even think twice. He just had an extra $10. He just gave it to her. Didn't even think twice. And a lot of people can see that and think to themselves, "Oh, why are you giving to these people? They are, they could just go get a job, right?" But there's something to be said about those that can give freely, and not just money, but from a place of goodness, where they don't have to take all the time. They don't have to have reciprocity. They can just give to someone, whether that be $10, a compliment, a kind, encouraging word, or a bit of their time, a listening ear. If we started to shift how we approach our human interactions, if we just gave more of ourselves than we take, I think that we would quickly find that our lives get better. Seriously. I would always hear, back in the day, maybe the people into meditation or spirituality, they say you want to raise your consciousness. And it was confusing, right? It's just like, what does that even freaking mean? I understand what it means on a fundamental level, that as a person, there's different waves of consciousness. Whatever you become conscious of. So if you're just conscious of sex, seeking pleasure for yourself, have a very scarcity mindset where, I gotta get out of this rat race. I gotta make it, me above everyone else, dog eat dog world. You're sort of stuck on this lower plane of consciousness, a lower plane of existing what you see in the world. Now, to raise your consciousness means that you would seek to focus your eyes and your mind on things that are higher, such as truth, telling the truth, not being a nice guy, and avoiding, telling small lies all throughout your life, and maybe treating people with kindness just because you can. So you start to tell the truth. You would start to be kind. You would stop judging so heavily. You would judge evil. You would judge wickedness, and you would cast that out of your life. But you wouldn't walk around as this judge, just casting judgments and hate and being consumed with anger and emotions for every living thing. You would begin to raise your consciousness, which would make you operate on a different plane of existence. And so when you would operate on this, if you could make it a part of yourself, what you would find is that your life tends to flow. Because when you raise the consciousness, when you raise what you focus on, it's almost like an alignment in a car. If you ever had a vehicle that is out of alignment, as soon as you take your hands off the wheel, it drifts left and right. Once you get it fixed, you can take your hands off. Here and there, you kind of go back, you put it on. But for the most part, you're going straight. And you get to where you want to go fast and efficiently with no car accidents and no hiccups and no need to always exert control on the steering wheel, which would be likened to your mind in this metaphor. I think that what the Bible was trying to say in many of these ancient texts, and we're going to use Jesus as an example, the Bible instructs the Christian, the follower of Christ, to become Christ-like. And if you look at the stories of Christ, he was an example of someone whose consciousness had ascended to the peak, he was God's son, he was godlike. So he had the truth, the light, the kindness, the love. He was not filled with anger, but he also enforced a set of rules when they were selling in the market. He flipped over the table and said, you're not going to do this here, buddy. You're not going to do this here, buddy. Get out of the temple. Shoo. And so he was this strength-filled masculine man, but also was someone that was perfectly aligned. So to become Christ-like was essentially to ascend, living your life from this base human nature which causes so much misery and confusion when you focus on the base, simplistic, sexual, want to cut your wiener off and get your sex changed, and transsexual and just perverseness and gluttony and the 7 sins, whatever you want to call them. To sin was to die a little bit. It was to be separated from God, to be separated from this way of being that causes peace amongst people and that makes your life to a more beautiful thing, we can say, to live better. Perfect alignment. So using Christ as the example, well, why would we do that? Well, first off, America, where I live, the U.S., is built on Christian fundamentals. One nation under God, with liberty and justice for all. And the way that we've been growing as a nation was under this belief in the Bible, in these basic principles from the Bible. To be Christ-like was the aim of the individual. Now, you can get into conspiracy stuff. Sometimes it's wise to take a look at, but there are people that hate Christ. There are religions that do not believe in Christ at all. They think he was false. So what better way than for a people that hate Christ to turn to a people that do not believe with them, that are seeking to be Christ-like, and then try to sow seeds of confusion and poison the minds of those people to get them to return to a lower state of consciousness and being. They would not aim to be like Christ anymore. They would forget their aim. They would become misaligned. They would always have to exert control and always be filled with stress hormones and chaos. They would not know themselves. They would not know love. They would think that everyone is against them. And they would forget. They would forget. And what a better way to do that than just make what you see, make what you're showing them so slowly and surely over time through the music and the media, ruining the families, promoting drugs and everything you can think of just to confuse. So again, where you had this narrative, this story that we united ourselves under. And when I mention God, a lot of people like to run. That's fine. You can run off and do whatever you want. But there's wisdom in understanding how humans work. That we're narrative, storytelling creatures. And when you unite a nation under a common theme, a common story, and then you go to break that up, hundreds of years later, slowly but surely sowing confusion, what you're gonna get is people that are broken and depressed and losing their mind and changing their sex and just freaking misery, man. Misery, untold amounts of misery, and it feels like something's wrong, right? It feels like something's wrong. And you may look outside, like I can look outside right now, everything's fine, but I feel that something is off. And the more that time you spend online, consuming media, consuming different narratives, the more you're going to be confused. You almost can't, it's so hard to stay vigilant. It's very tricky to stay vigilant. I mean, what else needs to be said? It's very difficult to keep your eyes on what is worth fighting for and what is true. And so that's one of the ways they do it. You see it in our media, the stories that we tell ourselves as people. They change, they get watered down. There's no more heroes that are worthy of looking up to. There's no more good narratives, even the music has been dumbed down and everything's sexualized and everything, it's so easy just to go and see some titties and a girl's having sex with guys, and you're watching this and you'll never have sex with these women, and you're literally turning into a cuck, and you keep doing it, and it changes. It just changes you, man. Like whatever you're looking at, constantly, repeatedly focusing, being conscious of, is changing you. It's reaching its hands back into you and doing something. You don't get off the hook by like, okay, I can just look at all this stuff, I can listen to all this stuff and be completely fine. You actually have to take a stand, decide, I'm going to change, I'm going to pursue living righteously. What is in harmony? What is in alignment? I'm going to tell the truth. I'm going to be kind. I'm not going to let my emotions get the best of me. I'm not going to be filled with anger and resentment. I'm going to do what's in front of me. I'm going to try, keep yourself healthy, like, and love those around you, and try to give more than you're taking. Not just money. I'm not saying just go give your money, but you'll see that, like, when you get around people that have actually made it, they're not making fun of people. They're not very greedy and stingy. They actually are open. They're more giving. They want the best for other people. They want to build you up. And if you don't have these kind of people in your life, these like-minded men, individuals, you need to find something like that. You need to find something like that. And if you have negative influence in your life, bad friends, just get away from them. You're going to make more friends. You don't need these people in your life. But again, it's so difficult because most people are at these lower states of consciousness. They haven't taken the time to rise up, to even see that there's a problem. They haven't even acknowledged that fact. And I think, I think it's like turning us into cattle. Because when you become a cow brain, when you start listening to the narrative and you're poisoned constantly, repeatedly over the course of hours, days, months, when you're alone, dude, you're a freaking cattle out there ready for slaughter. And all you do is feed the system. You just feed the system. So instead of having this ambition to make $1 million, you don't even know why the hell you need $1 million. You just want to be rich so you can do whatever the fuck you want and get a bunch of puss and, live in paradise. You're going to probably want to kill yourself after a while. Have a worthy ambition, which is to do something. Find something you like. But begin raising your consciousness, which means to seek the good. Become good, man. That's what there's such a lack of goodness in men these days. Just a good. It's not about returning to tradition. It's not about having to have a trad wife or having to act like a good stoic individual. No, just be good. Start to rearrange your core. Like start to reshape how you view things in life. And turn that to goodness, man. Raise your consciousness. And I think that's where we have to start. Truth, kindness, love. Where we reach this alignment, not enlightenment, but alignment in our life, where we can take our hands off the steering wheel. We don't always need to enforce control. We don't always have to be stressed and worried. We can take a step back. Then we can let life flow. We can see what needs to be done, and we can approach that with the right eyes. So that's High Thumos, man. Again, get around good people. Come talk with us in the group. Let's have a good April. It's not even April. It's freaking May. Let's have a good May. I'll see you guys soon. Peace.